Hey guys, what's up? This is Sam here from Carnage Motorsports, and today we are going to go over the difference between a non-beadlock and a beadlock wheel. We're going to go over the advantages, the disadvantages, and just the definition of one wheel to another. This wheel over here on my right is a non-beadlock wheel. This is more of an entry-level wheel, and it's a great wheel for the street. It's great for mild off-roading. It is a traditional wheel where it has a traditional bead where the tire would mount, and once aired up, it would mount in here and in here. That's great when you have a certain amount of air pressure, usually anywhere upwards of 12 PSI or higher. But when you get below that, the tire could actually what's called de-bead and pop off the bead, whether this way or that way. We're gonna go into why you need beadlocks. When you're off-roading, you like to air down, which is what's called. And the reason why you air down is a air down tire is wider. A wider tire has more traction. It also conforms more to whatever obstacle you're climbing over, whether it's a rock or a Toyota hood. Typically want the tire to air down. What happens when you air down, air could what's called burp out if your tire's not beaded properly, or just air down in total. Once you air down, the tire pops off the bead and you end up having a big issue on a trail. The way to fix that would be for another video. The way to alleviate that is to get a beadlock wheel like this one here. What a beadlock does is it actually clamps down on the bead of the tire, which, sorry, you could find right here. And this is a single beadlock wheel. This clamps down on the tire, and as you can see right here, it has the ridge right here where the bead of the tire goes into. And then in the back of the beadlock ring, it actually is stippled, so it holds the bead. You end up bolting the bead down, and it keeps your tire locked in place. That allows you to air down the tire when you're off-roading to, it depends on the tire and the wheel, but 4 PSI or so. And that gives you better feel off-road. It also makes it, when you're driving on bumpy surfaces, feel a little bit better. So we explained what beadlocks are. And now, obviously, this is a tire. Hey, Angel, how you doing, buddy? This is the bead on the tire, and this is what gets bolted or sandwiched between a beadlock. That could come off on a non-beadlock. You could get even further into detail, but that's probably another video, the difference between a double beadlock and a single beadlock. You cannot do that on a non-beadlock wheel. So if you're going to be doing primarily street driving, a non-beadlock is better. If you're going to be doing primarily off-roading, a beadlock is better. Some brands do have their versions of a non-beadlock. They call it like a bead street lock. Some of them call it bead grip. Some of them call it street lock. They do have those offerings, and that's something that's kind of like a hybrid. It's almost like a jack of all trades. It's not the best at one thing, but it's good at everything. Those are good options, again, if you're going to be doing mild off-roading, overlanding and stuff. But if you're going to be doing hardcore off-roading, rock crawling, you want to stick to a traditional beadlock. Now, advantages and disadvantages. The advantages to a traditional wheel is cost and weight. It typically costs at least 30% less than a beadlock wheel. So you can get, some wheels you can get both options, beadlock and non-beadlock. For instance, like a KMC Grenade or a KMC Machete like this wheel. You could get a KMC Machete non-beadlock. That wheel is going to be probably 30–40% less than a beadlock version. It also weighs a significant amount less because on a beadlock, you have anywhere from 24 plus of these nuts, bolts, depending on them, hardware. You also have a beadlock ring, which this ring alone probably weighs around 5 pounds. So when you add all of that in, you end up with a very heavy wheel. That heavy wheel gives you a lot of unsprung weight, and you definitely feel it. So a beadlock wheel is heavier, a non-beadlock wheel is lighter. Also, with the exception of very few manufacturers, most beadlock wheels are not DOT approved. That means they are not street legal. So you run them on the street, that's up to you, but they are not designed to be street legal. Some beadlock wheels give you the option to run on the street. For instance, if you were to mount these on the inside bead right here, you could run them for the street. Granted, they are still not technically street legal. There are other brands out there, which we're not going to get into today, that allow you to run them on the street. Non-beadlocks are obviously DOT approved, so you can run them on the street. The options you have, they're seemingly endless. On a non-beadlock wheel, you have anywhere from 15 to 22 22 inches when it comes to sizes. Plus variety. You have literally, you could open up any wheel magazine and you have hundreds, if not thousands of options. With beadlocks, your options are very limited. It's typically specific sizes, specific widths, and specific looks. So if you're going for a very unique and very specific look, a non-beadlock might be your better option. What wheel is best for you? That's a tricky question. At the end of the day, it just comes down to your final build goals. One thing we recommend here at Carnage Motorsports is to get a build designed in your head and do it once, do it right. We see it quite frequently where people start off with non-beadlocks, end up at beadlocks, or even vice versa. So spend the time, think about it, do it right.